All right, and we are back. 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 Welcome. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with another reaction video. And we're actually going to be continuing the series that we started, I believe, last week or something like that. Editor, you do your thing there. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue with this. Now, this is a channel, and I'm going to have a difficult time already because I've watched the whole video. I still do not know how to pronounce their name. Biblaridion? I think, okay, that's as close as I'm going to get for right now. I need you guys to actually say the name of the channel in the video. We're continuing with the Biblaridion series. I am going to mispronounce this so much. My gosh, I did not expect that. Here's the thing about what I didn't expect going into this series. Me not knowing how to say the name of the channel on a consistent basis. That seems to be the every week, here's the thing I don't know how to do properly, say the name of this channel. So who knows? Maybe it's good. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it. It's up to you guys to decide. So yeah, we're back. This time we learned about the planet itself. We started the planet. Now we're going to learn about the early life on the planet here. This is going to be a very interesting series. I was way more entertained in this than I felt like I thought I was going to be going into it. And it was like, yo, now I want to know everything about this planet. Now I'm like flabbergasted by the decisions that they're making while building the planet. So I'm really looking forward to this. You know, I can't wait to see how they make the life evolve on the specific planet and how it evolves. Like, will it have front facing eyes? Will they have teeth? Will they have, you know, how are they going to intake oxygen or whatever they use? As I know the planet does have have oxygen on it, not as much as ours did, but then there's the whole size difference. There's a lot to get into. You guys will get into it as soon as we get into the video. So guys, with that being said, I do want to make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Literally never know what I'm going to put out next. I might not even say that properly, so who knows? You never know what I'm going to say either. Wow. And yeah, also, if you haven't already, if you're for some reason watching this channel and you never heard of Biblaridion, or maybe you just don't know how to say the name, that might be it. Maybe you just don't know how to say the name and you've been looking for the channel for so long, you just haven't been able to find it because you just forgot how to pronounce it or spell it. But don't worry, because if you go to the link right there below, right there, link will be in the description below, you can actually go to their channel and subscribe. And actually, I recommend that you do. No, nay. I demand, yes, I demand that you do go to them and subscribe to their channel because they make incredible content. So guys, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. With that being said, there, you know, I do have to mention this. You know, I never bring it up, but I'm gonna bring it up in this one video. That is, if you guys don't like, comment, and subscribe, more importantly, subscribe to this channel, YouTube will come through that door right over there, and they will. Alien Biospheres Part 2, Early Life and Body Plans. Okay.
Last time, Artifexian helped me create an alien planet, as well as its star, moon, orbital characteristics, atmosphere, and tectonics.
I remember this.
Now that we know all the abiotic factors present on this planet, we can begin creating some life forms to inhabit it. Let's create some life, ladies and gentlemen. This is where things are really going to start getting interesting. How do they start? You know, what's the organic building blocks to life on this planet, huh? Did it start with how ours did, where it was like a pool of, you know, freaking microbes just living together until they just start doing, you know, going they go from like double to single celled, or single to double cell, multi-celled organisms? Like, did that happen for them too? Did they start off as multi-cell organisms? So many questions, guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys already seen this video. This was recommended to me, so I'm sure a lot of you already seen this. So these are just my personal questions, I guess.
if you haven't seen this also, please comment all the same things that I'm talking about right down below.
Methods for going about doing this, but here we're going to start right at the beginning of the planet's history.
Okay, I love things like this. I love how, like, it just looks cool when you're looking at, like, how it goes from the different eras and, like, how it kind of tells the story, but it's also just, like, a graph. Like, these are the type of graphs we need more of, ladies and gentlemen. We need more of these type of graphs. They're informative, but they're also just cool to look at. Like, I would have a poster of this graph, like, in... like just around. It would be cool.
And evolve an entire biosphere. Of course, creating a fully fleshed out biosphere is a massive undertaking.
Okay, now this is a different type of graph. This is a realistic graph. I'm not a huge fan of it though. I need those lines to fully connect to the words. Like, I feel like I could miss, like, I would get most of them right, but then there'll be a couple of ones where it's like, all right, is this line right here going towards this one or this one? Like, which one are we going here? You know, I would just be a little bit like, oh, let me do a double take. But yeah, the lines make sense, but I just wish they would go further up. That's just my only critique on this.
So this will just serve as a pretty broad overview on how the principles of evolution can be used to design...
This is graph judgment time, guys. Last 3 graphs, which one was your favorite? All right, last 2 graphs, because we already know the first one was your favorite. Like, let's be real here. If you're a graph expert like myself, you already like the first one the most. But honestly, second place graph right here for me. I rated the graphs if that helps you guys with this. I don't know what that would help you with, but this is my second tier B graph right here. I like it. I like where it's going. I like the little, colorful animals over here. You can't go wrong with colorful animals, brother.
Scientifically feasible alien life forms.
Graph.
So then, let's get to work.
Yeah, let's get to work.
After the planet consolidates and the oceans form, the world remains a fairly quiet place for quite a while.
Okay.
At some point within the first billion years of the planet's existence, life arises deep within the ocean.
Alright,
the exact mechanism of how life comes about is still not fully understood, but as it proliferates, it begins to affect many aspects of the planet itself.
You know what? For a part of me, I'm like, why doesn't he know how it fully began? But we don't know how it fully began. But at the same time, we are specifically creating this planet's early life. So shouldn't, of all people, we at least know how it began? That's just a personal question. Just, comment down below how you feel about that.
In the history of Earth, the earliest organisms were most likely heterotrophic, meaning they were incapable of producing their own energy, and thus had to take up nutrients from the environment.
Bro,
they had to eat things. However, at some point very soon after life first appeared, an evolutionary innovation occurred in which some early groups of microbes evolved the ability to use inorganic molecules to power chemical processes from which they derived their energy.
Okay.
Organisms capable of doing this are called autotrophs, and include phototrophs, like plants and cyanobacteria, which use sunlight to power their metabolism, as well as chemotrophs, like extremophile bacteria that gain energy from geochemically produced sulfides.
Hey, I knew these things were real, and now I know the name for them. Chemotrophs. They harness energy from oxidizing inorganic molecules, aka they'll eat chemicals and live, and they'll feed off of it. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. We need to create some. Do we? I'm sure they got something that feeds off of plastic, because we're probably gonna need that soon. But I'm sure that's gonna have some pretty dire consequences when I really think about it. We just let loose this microbe that eats plastic into the oceans, and then what? Like, it's just the oceans are just safe after that? You think they're not gonna just start destroying other things? I'm talking to myself right now. You guys probably already figured this one out. You guys are like scientists out there, I'm sure. So you guys already know this. But I'm just thinking to myself, I thought microbes that eat plastic, just throw them in the ocean, might be good for a second. I thought about it for 2 seconds. I was like, you know what? Maybe not. I'll think about it for more than a minute, and I'll see where it goes.
These autotrophic mechanisms seem to have arisen numerous times in unrelated lineages, so it's likely that autotrophy will evolve in some of the primitive microbes on our alien planet as well. Photosynthetic organisms may evolve to use sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars and oxygen, but also, thanks to the high proportion of hydrogen sulfide in the atmosphere, sulfur-oxidizing chemotrophs may thrive as well. Whereas on Earth, these chemotrophs are restricted to areas like geothermal vents. On our alien planet, they may also flourish in surface waters. Additionally, hydrogen sulfide dissolves in water, which will cause the oceans to acidify, so these early life forms will likely have some means of tolerating the acid, much like acidophile bacteria on Earth. As these autotrophs proliferate, they'll start to change the composition of the atmosphere, as the phototrophs convert the carbon dioxide into oxygen, and the chemotrophs turn the hydrogen sulfide into elemental sulfur. And as atmospheric oxygen increases, it has a profound effect on the development of life. Oxygen is highly reactive, which makes it great for powering biochemistry. This results in the evolution of aerobic respiration. In some ways, the counter...
I got that. Guys, you probably got that. I'm not gonna guess. It's wrong to assume people's, respiratory systems these days. I would hate to just assume that you have an aerobic, not Arabic, aerobic respiratory. But you know what? I don't know how your respiration goes. I'm not gonna just assume that. But shout outs to my boy with lungs over here. I got them too. They're pretty cool to have if you think about it. Like, shout outs to lungs,
A part of photosynthesis, taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. While other forms of respiration do exist, aerobic respiration is almost always the most efficient form.
It's goated.
Once aerobic respiration evolves, we'll soon get complex colonial and eventually multicellular organisms, until eventually we come to a critical point in the planet's natural history. For most of its existence, life on Earth mainly comprised simple, soft-bodied creatures, with evolutionary changes taking place very gradually over vast stretches of time.
That is what
But then, about 4 billion years into the Earth's lifetime, there was suddenly a huge burst of biodiversity called the Cambrian explosion.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say Cambrian explosion, but he said it. Part of the Cambrian era, by the way. I know things, guys.
Wherein the ancestors of virtually every modern animal body plan appear in the fossil record, all within a span of only about 25 million years, which is pretty negligible in the timescale of natural history. While there were certainly many factors at play here, one element that may have contributed to this event was the evolution of predation. Before this point, an organism could get away with just blindly floating about at the mercy of the ocean currents, passively obtaining oxygen and nutrients from the water. There's no real need to deviate from this lifestyle, so there's no real pressure to evolve anything new. But with the advent of active predators, you're not going to last very long if you don't have some form of defense mechanism.
Bro, think about how scary of a time this would have been in evolution. Now, I know most of us watching this are probably humans, I'm a human. I'm sure 99% of the people watching this are also humans. There might be a couple of people with, got this on for their dog or cat or something. There's a couple of gerbils or something watching this. I don't know. But let's assume that you're a crustacean in the early days. Maybe you don't even have eyes evolved yet. Bro, you're just bumping into anything. You don't know what it could be. Friend, foe. You better hope that you evolve scales. You better hope that you evolve scales, brother. Because if you didn't evolve scales, if you're just a soft fish and then you feel something pointing on you, you don't know what it is because you may not have eyes. If you do have eyes, they're probably those really old, prehistoric eyeballs that haven't really formulated everything. You're just seeing little blurs or something. You see a blur of light just go by you, and next thing you know, you're in some prehistoric shark's stomach, because sharks were a thing back then. And you know what? They didn't have earth. Look at these. These are just roaches. These are just bugs right here. Those are creepy. But you got to eat that or something. Or that's probably you. That might be you. That little bug thing that is looking, kind of looks weird a little bit. But that could be you. Think about that. Think about this being you and this being your buddy. And you and your buddy just trying to make it over to the local bug hideout or hangout spot. There's a slug there. He's a cool guy. But then you see this, you might not see this thing. This thing's on you. This thing's looking at you like, man, y'all two look pretty good right now. He might be looking at the slug, but you never know. He's probably looking at you. Just a quick meal. He might not want the full course. He might just want a quick bite, the appetizers. He already figured out how to prey on fish. He might figure out how to do appetizers. Come on.
Mechanism. This leads to the evolution of the first armor, the first defensive behaviors, and the first eyes. And this then puts an impetus on the predators to evolve some way around their prey's defenses. And this arms race then escalates, dramatically increasing the rate at which life diversifies. It's quite likely that the appearance of predators will trigger an analogue to the Cambrian explosion on our alien planet. So we'll say that around the 4 billion year mark, our previously simple, soft-bodied ecosystems will suddenly diversify into a huge number of new phyla. While difficult to define precisely, a phylum is a lineage of life forms in possession of a shared or related body plan. For example, insects, arachnids, myriapods, and crustaceans all belong to the phylum Arthropoda, meaning they all evolved from a single common ancestor whose body plan they adapted in various ways. So our first step is to design some basic body plans.
See, I knew this part, but the way that they break this down, also top-notch graph. This is still the second best graph I've seen so far. But I really like how they break this down to be like, you know what? These are all the basic same body parts, but here's how they evolve them and like grow them or, just use them in different ways. It's actually very, very interesting. I like this right here. This is pretty cool stuff.
So our first step is to design some basic body plans. These don't need to be perfect or even necessarily representative of any one species. What we're looking for here is a rough blueprint that serves as an outline for our creature's anatomy and lifestyle. While there's a lot of scope for variation, we can figure out what makes for a functional body plan by looking at some of the trends in phyla that exist on Earth. Let's compare a typical vertebrate body plan, like that of a dog, with a typical arthropod body plan, like that of an ant. Now, superficially, these two animals may seem quite...
Are we making dog ants in the water here? Are we making water dog ants here? Are we making like sea ant dogs? What's happening right now? Just this image and then knowing that we're still talking about aquatic creatures right now is funny. Like, I didn't expect a dog to be the first thing to pop up on my screen right now.
Different, but they also show some pretty striking similarities. They both have a symmetrical body with limbs used for locomotion, a distinct head that contains a brain and bears the sensory organs and the mouth, and a body containing internal organ systems such as a heart that pumps oxygen-rich blood around the body, and a digestive tract that runs from one end of the animal to the other.
That's true.
All of these characteristics are especially remarkable considering the last common ancestor of these two animals looked something like this. This means that all of the above traits were evolved independently within these two body plans.
That's so... We know the common ancestor between arthropods and, like, canines? That's crazy. I thought that was, like, lost information. Something we would have never figured out. Because at that point, what's the last ancestor between, like, all things? Have we figured out the lost thing between mankind and primates? Was that already figured out? Did we already figure the missing link? Is that not missing anymore? Has that link been connected? Let me know, ladies. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this right now, if you already have, if you know about the missing link, let me know. What's the link between dogs and humans? What's the creature between dogs or freaking humans and, I don't know, ants? What's cats and dogs? How close are cats and dogs from getting along and ending the civil war that they've been going through for thousands of years? I don't know. We just need to find their common ancestor, and all of a sudden, no more cat-dog wars. This is incredible information that I have now in my mind. I will never forget this. I may forget this, but I'll never forget that there is an ancestor. I may forget what the name of it is. So guys, let me know if this is mind-blowing to you too.
Suggesting that such characteristics readily arise in unrelated groups in response to similar evolutionary pressures, what's known as convergent evolution. And if these traits can
independent evolution of similar traits and unrelated lineages, okay,
evolve multiple times on Earth, then why not on an alien planet as well? Now, this doesn't mean that all body plans have to be built along these lines, but it recalls one of my personal world-building mottos: know the rules before you break the rules.
Hey, that's a good
In other
motto.
words, make sure you understand why something is the way it is in the real world before changing it in a fictional world.
I know this is a good thing for like people who write and people who do all, this pretty much works for any facet of life, to be honest with you. You got to know what you're doing before you start tweaking the rules. I think this is like how, a lot of people get messed up because they're like, I'm just going to break the rules. Well, did you study the rules first? This is what Kobe used to do. This is the Kobe mentality. Kobe used to know the whole rule book left and right. That way he knew how to manipulate the rules properly. And obviously it may not have always worked out for him, but RIP and shout outs to Kobe, man. Kobe's the GOAT.
So then, why is it beneficial to have these traits? To find out, let's create some sample body plans step by step and see what characteristics emerge. To start off, complex multicellular animals most often exhibit some form of symmetry. Some animals, like starfish, anemones, and jellyfish, exhibit radial symmetry, in which the body is arranged in a circle around a central axis, while other animals, like mollusks, arthropods, and vertebrates, demonstrate bilateral symmetry, where the two sides of the body are mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
Let's create two body plans, one with radial symmetry and the other with bilateral symmetry. This already has some implications for these animals' biology. On Earth, most radially symmetrical creatures tend to be slow-moving, largely immobile, or sometimes completely sessile, while many animals that are bilaterally symmetrical display a high degree of mobility. Now, it could be that radial phyla on Earth just happen to have never evolved to become very motile,
that is interesting. Or
it could be that having bilateral symmetry is advantageous for a motile lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm starting to think having like the bilateral symmetry is actually better for movement. So I think it actually does make sense of why this is like, I don't think this is a coincidence. I'm sure there's some, animals that can like go side to side, like he's going like side to side to coming over, but look how much more efficient it is when you're a bilateral movement. It's like you just go straight to the whatever versus like making little detours through the sides.
More on this later, but for now, let's play it safe and make our radially symmetrical plan sessile, and our bilaterally symmetrical one motile.
Okay.
Sessile animals have the difficult task of acquiring oxygen and nutrients without moving, relying on the ocean currents to bring food and oxygen to them. These animals will typically have a surface through which they can absorb oxygen from the surrounding water, which may double as a means of catching plankton or other food particles. Obviously, the larger this surface is, the more food and oxygen the animal can obtain. However, if we enlarge the surface by simply scaling the creature up in size, we run into a problem. The larger something is, the greater its volume becomes relative to its surface area, which means that as our radial life form gets larger, the smaller its feeding surface becomes in proportion to its increasingly large body, lowering overall feeding efficiency. This relationship between surface area and volume is known as the square-cube law, and it's a fundamental principle that has numerous ramifications for how life evolves. And keep it in mind because we're going to be referencing it a lot throughout this series.
Oh, okay.
Our radial body plan will therefore need maximum surface area while minimizing volume. This favors a flat, leaf-like, or perhaps feather-like structure, much like sea pens and sea fans on Earth.
Okay.
And since this creature has radial symmetry, perhaps it has a circle of these structures in a flower-like arrangement.
I like this so far.
Meanwhile, our bilateral body plan presents a different set of parameters. It will also need some method of gaining oxygen from the water, but if it's an active, motile animal, having a large feathery surface for gas exchange would increase drag, making swimming less efficient.
Fins.
This means its gills need to have maximum surface area while also being hydrodynamically optimal.
What is
this may favor a long and thin body with gills running down the sides. One innovation that might come in handy here is segmentation, or serial repetition, the dividing of a body plan into a series of identical or near-identical units. Perhaps the most obvious real-world examples being arthropods and annelids, but technically, even vertebrates can be considered segmented, for reasons that we'll get into later.
Oh, we have spines. Look at this. Look at that. That's that thing we got right there. That's pretty cool.
For now, let's say our bilaterian has 9 segments, with each segment possessing a pair of limbs and a gill surface. Perhaps it swims with back and forth strokes of its paddle-like limbs, which will have the added benefit of encouraging water over the gills and increasing oxygen intake. Being motile requires a lot more energy than being sessile, so this animal will need an efficient way of transporting this oxygen around the body, and this may come in the form of blood. Blood has evolved as a means of transporting oxygen and nutrients in many different animal groups on Earth, and comes in a variety of chemical variants. However, many blood-bearing animals don't contain blood in arteries and veins, but rather use what's called an open circulatory system, in which the internal organs are surrounded by a blood-filled cavity or hemocoel. This isn't quite as efficient as a closed circulatory system like those found in vertebrates and cephalopods, where the network of blood vessels creates a continuous supply of oxygen to all parts of the body. One way to make the system more efficient is to have a muscle or pump to ensure a constant flow of oxygen-rich blood over the organs, and of oxygen-depleted blood back to the gill surface. Perhaps our bilaterian has a series of muscular rings around the hemocoel, like a collection of primitive hearts, which will give the animal an efficient means of powering its metabolism. So that takes care of oxygen, but this creature will also need a means of acquiring food.
Now, I do wonder, like, if this animal gets attacked, will it just instantly bleed out if one section comes off? Because it's got an open circulatory system and then a series of hearts. So if each one, like, let's say they just break off the last piece, does it just, like, will it be able to seal itself up underwater while also there's no, like, it's all the blood? In my opinion, I mean, I don't know. Is all the blood just coming directly out and it just bleeds out immediately if a single section is cut off? Because that might pose a pretty big risk pretty soon.
Since this is a motile animal, it will be able to move to new areas to actively seek out food, allowing it to potentially adopt a predatory lifestyle. So it will need a mouth to consume prey and a digestive tract to allow the nutrients from the ingested food to diffuse into the blood and be transported around the body. Now, since we're dealing with an active motile animal, and because it's bilaterally symmetrical, that necessarily means that the creature has a front and a back end. True. This pretty much inevitably leads to another very common evolutionary trend, cephalization, the clustering together of the nervous system into a head of sorts, which frequently co-occurs.
You know what? We're both right. How about that? We're both right. He said, creating a head and circulatory system and a concentration of that and probably eyeballs and everything. I did say poop. So it's like different ends, but we're talking about similar things,
With the sensory organs and the mouth. While cephalization does occur to a limited degree among radial body plans, it tends to be a lot more pronounced in bilateral creatures, for the simple reason that it helps to have the sensory organs arranged so that you can see what's in front of you, and to have a mouth near the sensory organs to make it easier to eat things, and so that you can sense the food before it's ingested. So first off, we're going to need to give our creature some form of sensory organ, in particular, eyes. Somewhat surprisingly, eyes seem to evolve quite easily, as evidenced by the fact that they've arisen independently many times across hugely disparate lineages, with even some microbes and seaweeds being able to sense light to some degree. What begins as a patch of light-sensitive cells may then form into a sort of cup that allows the animal to better sense the direction that light is coming from, and then a lens may evolve to focus the light directly onto the retina to resolve a clear image. Most often, animals will have at least 2 eyes, since having multiple eyes allows for increased depth perception. This can range from the only 2 eyes of vertebrates, to the 3 to 8 eyes of arthropods, to the 24 eyes of the box jellyfish, to the over 100 eyes of scallops. We'll give our bilaterian an array of 6 simple eyes surrounding the mouth, giving it a full view of...
I was expecting 2, he brought out 6. This is crazy.
What's in front of it. And once it has the ability to see, the animal will need a way of processing the sensory information. While nerves run the full length of the body, perhaps a ganglion, or nerve cluster, evolves near the eyes, like a primitive brain. And so now we have something like a head taking shape. Meanwhile, in radially symmetrical body plans, cephalization may involve grouping the nervous system around the center of mass, like the nerve net of a jellyfish or the nerve ring of a starfish. A sessile organism doesn't have very many intellectually demanding tasks to attend to, so it can afford to have a comparatively simple nervous...
Wait, can we make it smart though? Can we make it smart though? That'd be cool. That'd be interesting. Like, what if we had like smart trees and stuff? You know, like trees that could just... Bro, Lord of the Rings. All right, have you heard of the Nifs or the Nifs? I don't know. Read Lord of the Rings. You know, it's better than the movies, but also like you will understand why these guys, like, those trees were so desperate to get some like female trees around. It was actually getting sad and pitiful when you're reading it. Like, you're just this whole elongated story about how there used to be female trees, and then they're the ant wives. That's what they are. The ants, the ant wives. That's what they are. I don't know what I said before, but the ants, bro, they're cool. They can talk. They're trees. They can walk. They can do everything. They, herd the forest and stuff. But bro, don't get them started on the ant wives because they will not stop. They don't get any. It's been a long time. It's all they think about. It's pretty sad. All the women left. I don't even remember if that ever gets resolved, to be honest with you. I can't. Let me know if I know this is going to be super random versus the reaction, and that's my fault, but I'm already on the tangent. Let me know if in the Lord of the Rings series the ants ever find the ant wives. I might have to reread it, but also, if it's a spoiler, I will accept that spoiler. Don't spoil anything else. If I'm forgetting anything else from Lord of the Rings, don't spoil that for me. Just let me know if they find the ant wives. If not, they are kind of, it is kind of lame being them. It would be kind of lame to be them because now you got to go around. There's no female trees to mess with. You're just looking at regular trees. Like, are you getting tempted? Like, whoa. Buddy, not the right type of tree. Don't look at me, buddy.
System. However, if our radial creatures are feeding using a large, delicate membrane, that makes them very vulnerable to predators, so they may benefit from an early warning system. Perhaps they have vibration-sensitive cells or even simple eyes near the tips of their feeding appendages that allow them to detect incoming predators. But having the ability to sense predators does little good if there's no way to respond to it.
Yeah, how you gonna defend
Since swimming
yourself?
away isn't an option, many sessile animals have some form of armor for protection. On Earth, the shells of these marine creatures are usually calcareous, most often calcium carbonate. But here, we have the opportunity to do something a little bit different.
Really?
Remember that we've got an atmosphere rich in hydrogen sulfide, which dissolves in water, and we've got chemosynthetic microbes that convert atmospheric hydrogen sulfide into elemental sulfur.
Yeah.
This means that there's an enormous amount of free sulfur available. So maybe the marine organisms can evolve to take up the sulfur to form hard shells made out of calcium sulfate. So our radial body plan can have a protective shell into which it can retract its feeding arms. Motile animals, on the other hand, have the advantage of swimming away to avoid predators, so our bilateral body plan may forego armor completely and instead invest purely in speed. Now, both of our body plans are the means of respiration.
I don't know, brother. I feel like you need to become a crustacean at this point. Invest in body armor. It is useful. I say this in every RPG. Build up your armor. Get at least one good weapon before you go out on your journey. He needs blades. I know he's got fins. Is it possible to add blades to the, like, at least the front two fins, or like add some type of, teeth, maybe teeth? That might be pretty cool right now. Any type of like weapon that he could use, maybe also out of the sulfate, but just something. I feel bad for my boy over here. I know they haven't finished it out yet, but like, I really don't know about this whole soft body thing. It works out for humans, but bro, you're not us. They not like us, brother. Wop, wop, wop. Get out of here.
Feeding, and defense. But there's still one last essential detail to figure out: reproduction. The most basic means of reproduction is asexual reproduction, where an organism reproduces by essentially cloning itself, creating offspring that are, for all intents and purposes, genetically identical to the parent. Since doing this doesn't require a mate, the organism isn't limited in its spawning and can reproduce whenever it wants, allowing populations to multiply very quickly. However, despite these advantages, asexual reproduction isn't actually as common as you might think. There appears to be a strong evolutionary pressure across just about every branch of the tree of life to maximize genetic diversity, which allows for beneficial genes to spread quickly through populations and accelerates the rate of adaptation. Because of this, sexual reproduction has become the most common reproductive strategy across virtually every
That's what I'm talking about.
lineage of multicellular life. Even many kinds of bacteria have some mechanism for exchanging genes.
Guys, that's childish.
Sexual reproduction most often involves a distinction between male and female sexes, but there's a huge number of possible variants on this system, and we'll discuss those at a later date. For now, let's say that both our radial and our bilateral body plans have individuals that are either male or female. When it comes to sexual reproduction, sessile organisms face a problem. How do you find a mate if you can't move?
True.
The most common solution to this is what's called broadcast spawning, where the animals release an enormous quantity of gametes, or sex cells, into the water. Only a tiny fraction of male and female cells will meet and develop into larvae, and only a small portion of those larvae will survive to adulthood. This is a very inefficient strategy, but it's one of the only reliable ways for sessile organisms to ensure a high degree of dispersal.
I'm about to say, I saw all the little... If you go back to this moment right here, that's a lot of... I don't know if this, I don't want to say what this is, I don't know if this is just like ejaculate right now. I guess I did just say it, but like, if this is, that's a lot. I'm sure there's some eggs in there as well. So this is a combination of eggs and, the ejaculate, then that would be a lot. I feel like that's going to have a pretty high success rate right there. I feel bad for this fish. Like... Look at this fish in here. Like, brother, I did not sign up for this. What am I doing here? This isn't good. This isn't food. I can't eat this. Like, what's going on here? I mean, maybe he did sign up for it. Who knows? I don't know. What is this fish doing here? Why is he the only fish here? Is the real question. I see fish on the outside of this bomb here. Oh, there's a couple of fish over here. Okay, there's a couple of fish there. These might be some freaky fish right here. I don't know. I don't. You really can't trust these fish right here. Like, there's something about them. They know what's going on. There should be way more fish in there if this is really just like a normal thing. Other fish are looking at them crazy. Like, yo, I really can't believe you went in there, brother. That's disgusting.
Larvae will survive to adulthood. Sessile organisms to ensure a high degree of dispersal. Often, the larvae of these sessile creatures evolve adaptations to help them cope with this first incredibly vulnerable period of their life cycle. For our radial creatures, before the larvae have grown to the point where they can attach themselves to the seabed and develop their protective armor, they'll need to rely on some other defense mechanism. Perhaps they can adapt their underdeveloped feeding arms into appendages they can beat back and forth for locomotion, allowing them some degree of motility to escape predators and find a suitable spot to metamorphose into adults. For our bilateral creature, being motile allows it to actively search for a mate, which massively increases the chances of a successful fertilization.
True.
Let's give it a gonopore, or gland that produces gametes, on its final segment. And there we have it, 2 basic body plans. Depending on how detailed your project is, a full biosphere will have anywhere from half a dozen to over 100 body plans, but for this series, we'll just focus on these 2.
I feel like we might need it to have at least like 3 or 4. I don't know, but hey, I'm loving this video so far, guys. This is interesting.
Dub the radial phylum Anthostoma, and the bilateral one Polypodia. Note that I'm using standard Greek and Latin-based nomenclature, but feel free to use whatever naming schema makes sense for your project. Now, these
Wait, are we supposed to be doing a project too? Is this like a group project thing? Or we're also supposed to be making one? Because I'm sorry, guys. I'm one of the people who, like, I give really good ideas for the project. I'm not too much of the writing it down type of person in the project. Like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like there's idea guys, and then there's like the writing things down people. And shout outs to all my writing things down people. I love you. I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are the goats. But I'm really like the idea guy. I come in there, I give all the great ideas, and then I'm like, boom, what's going on, guys? I put my feet up, I relax for the rest of it. I wait for the guys to get done writing. We're just like chilling. I'm telling jokes and stuff the whole time. We're all laughing, having a good time. And next thing you know, the paper's done. We're all good. Everybody passes. That's normally my role when I was back in school. So, if I didn't come prepared, I'll just on top just think about all this stuff that he just said, and I'll instantly be like, yo, this is mine. It's going to look something like this thing here, or maybe that thing there.
Plans may not seem all that different from some of the ones that exist on Earth, but I've done this intentionally to demonstrate why certain real-world body plans have evolved the way they have. For your own project, feel free to run wild with ideas and create whatever off-the-wall body plans you can come up with, as long as they have a justifiable means of respiration, feeding, defense, and reproduction. However, remember that these body plans are just basic ancestral blueprints, and as they evolve over the next few 100 million years, they may become completely unrecognizable from these primitive forebears.
Oh, I can't wait.
In the next episode, we'll see how the descendants of these ancient creatures diversify into a whole menagerie of different forms.
Okay. Oh my gosh. He still didn't say the name of the channel. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be a running thing where I just never know how to say the name of the channel. Oh, I'm sorry. This is okay. It just went back to the beginning of the video. Okay, guys, this was a great video by Biblaridion. Biblaridion. I think I'm getting closer. I don't know. I think I'm getting closer to saying the name properly. But then again, I don't know. All I know is you need to go subscribe to his channel. This video was incredible. Learned a lot of information here. I'm looking forward so much to seeing how this planet evolves, guys. It's 2 episodes out of 15 it looks like. I'm invested, guys. I'm invested in here. We're locked in. The video should be out soon, but this is actually I can't wait. Like I just want to see the evolution of this now. And I just really like how much real life world knowledge I'm learning right now. Like I didn't know about open and closed respiratory like systems, like nervous systems and stuff. Like I thought we all had like veins and stuff like that. I didn't know that some fish didn't have that. Like I didn't know. I'm not a fish. Like I'm sorry. I'm not, I don't live under the sea, if you didn't notice. I know there's some people probably confused about that, but I don't. I live on land. Not Aquaman. Me and Jason Momoa do look similar, but he's not me. I'm not him, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, this was a good time. If you made it this far, made it through all the rants and rambling, and you enjoyed this content, feel free to subscribe. We are so close to hitting 1K subs. It is actually insane. So help evolve the channel as we're looking to see how this world evolves here. We're really close. So I do want to say thank you to anybody who is currently subscribed. I appreciate every single one of you. I barely can even get that statement out, but trust me, I mean it with all my heart, ladies and gentlemen. I really do mean it. You guys mean the world to me. This channel means the world. I just love how it got built up and where it's going. We're moving forward. Things are going great. So as always, if you made it this far, I want to say thank you. I love you. Bye.